Welcome to the third episode of the Shiv Nadar School podcast. I'm your host, Anshika Kansal of Grade 11 IBDP here at Shiv Nadar School, Gurgaon. And today I'm joined by our Vice Principal, Mr. Sameer Arora. Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
So, sir, as the leader of our school, could you provide insights into how you define student agency in our educational context?
Thank you, Anshika, for this question. Before I answer this question, I would like to set up the context and share the belief of Shiv Nadar School, which shapes the idea of student agency. At Shiv Nadar School, we believe that every student, every learner has the will and ability to positively influence their own lives and the world around them. And this idea shaped our understanding of student agency. Student agency is, in a very basic terms, means the ability to make choices and also the ability to know what to do with those choices, to act, to reflect, and effect change. It's an active process where you're basically acting and not being acted upon as a student, where you're shaping and not being shaped, to make responsible decisions and choices rather than accepting decisions and choices made by your parents and teachers. So, student agency at Shiv Nadar School is a transformative experience where learning is not passive, instruction and evaluation by teacher. It's an idea of co-construction where students play a pivotal role in shaping the curriculum, shaping the instruction, and shaping the evaluation.
I think that's a powerful idea, sir, because it's not just shaping what they're learning, but also how they're learning and how they're being assessed. Which brings us to our next question about how do you think student agency dimensions such as autonomy, critical thinking, and problem solving shape a peer's educational journey?
I think it's a big ask, but I'll try to contextualize it in our context. The three dimensions you talked about: autonomy, critical thinking,
And problem solving.
and problem solving. So let's start with autonomy. What does autonomy mean? Autonomy means freedom. Freedom gives you a greater sense of responsibility, greater sense of control. So how do we build autonomy in our ecosystem so that every learner from an early age to the time they graduate from the school experience autonomy? If you look at the design of the curriculum, there are many opportunities which children are, exposed to, where they can make choices about what they want to study, how they want to study, and how they want to present the learning to their peers and to the teachers. For example, your STEAM projects.
Yeah.
Students decide what aspect of science or science integrated art they want to research, the research methodologies they want to use, the team they want to form. They have absolute freedom. Look at your arts program. From grade 3 to grade 12th, you can choose any art form and you can change that art form from year to year. In grade 3, you might be studying theater. In grade 4, you might be studying vocal music. In grade 5, you may go on to become a visual artist. So, and also how you want to present that learning to the world. In your sports, you can choose the sports you want to profess in, or you can choose your sports year on year. Additionally, if you look at a Capstone project, that's also children give them a choice from middle school onwards. What branch of IT curriculum do they want to profess in? So the range of possibilities we give students is basically to enable them to become self-directed and lifelong learners. The second dimension you talked about, critical thinking. So what is critical thinking? Basically, it's an ability of a student to evaluate, analyze, and question assumptions and information, to make deeper connections with the subject they're studying, right? So if you ever walked across the school, you will see that our classrooms are chaotic. So, and I qualify that as a productive chaos. Why it is chaotic? Because in a class, we believe the teachers are not weapons of mass instruction, where a teacher is standing on the stage and answering and teaching students. Basically, teacher is co-constructing the knowledge and understanding with the students. So what's happening in the classroom? The students are sitting in the group. They are able to analyze information. They are able to question assumptions. They are able to build perspective. They are able to also present new ideas. And all that happened through our pedagogy. And it's an active pedagogy. We use case studies. We have interventions or design like MUN, ethical Olympiads, Socratic dialogues. So that is why in critical thinking, it's a co-construction of students' understanding of any topic they're studying in the class in an organized chaos or a productive chaos. And finally, you talked about problem solving. I think I'll bring one quote which shapes the philosophy of education for me is from American educationist reformer John Dewey. He said, education is not preparation for life, education is life, right? And when you're posed with the challenges in your life, what do you do with that? It doesn't come as an exam at the end of the year. It doesn't come an exam, terminal exam, right? When life poses challenges. So it was an interesting challenge for us to understand how do we prepare children in problem solving as they would encounter in real life. So our IT curriculum does that quite well. From grade 3 to grade 9, they have range of interests to choose from. They study that for 7 years. In the 8th year, that is when they're in grade 10th, the first year of high stake public examination, children choose a problem they want to solve in their community. The problem could range from how to communicate with a person who's hard of hearing and is not able to speak in your kitchen. These are live examples. To how to make portable cold water available for support staff in their homes, to how to make safety devices for delivery folks who are always exposed to danger of road accidents, right? So these are the real world problems they identify. Now, when they identify a real world problem, they also have to figure out kind of the skill set they require in their pair to solve that problem. So they form a team. So there is autonomy, there is critical thinking. Once they form that team, then they go through the entire design thinking process. They ideate, they design, they prototype, they test their project. At the end of it, the whole cycle might just go waste and they fail. They go back to do that again in the whole process. So through this journey of Capstone in grade 10th, in the year they have high stake examination, they build resilience. They also understand the life does not give you one exam at a time. You might have to write your board examinations, you may have a board practical, and yet you have to solve a world problem. So I think this is how each dimension, autonomy, critical thinking, and problem solving has been built as a part of a curriculum.
So I think the colloquium is an extremely relevant example of this because it shows how students are applying their learning to a project that they're passionate about that solves a real life problem. And that brings about autonomy, critical thinking, and problem solving as a whole. And it just shows the culture we have here at Shiv Nadar School of student agency. But what I want to ask is, what do you think are the key characteristics and conditions that cultivate this culture?
I think at Shiv Nadar School, our commitment to foster the culture of agency stems from a belief of intrinsically valuing every single learner in the ecosystem. And I've said that in the beginning, that we believe every single child uh, has the ability and will to influence their lives positively and the world around them. And that assumption, that belief actually safeguards us from the tokenism of student agency. So now how do you build student agency? Is your question, what are the characteristics of building student agency? So who are the important stakeholders in students' learning journey? If you can tell me, who are the important stakeholders in students' learning journey?
Um, the students, definitely,
Students
and
themselves,
the students themselves, the teachers, and their
teachers,
parents.
teachers and parents. That's right. So we have identified these important stakeholders. So in a traditional school method, the parents are kept out of school, right? The schooling or teaching and learning is school's job, right? And teachers are expected to deliver what school has designed as a curriculum. At Shiv Nadar School, it's very, very different. At Shiv Nadar School, we believe unless a teacher is agentic or has experienced agency, she cannot nurture the conditions for student agency. So teachers have agency how to deliver the curriculum. They have a broader guideline, how they design their classes, where they can design their classes, where do want to take their classes, how do they want to assess those classes, is absolutely teacher agency. Likewise, in parents, they are also partners with us in shaping the curriculum, the instruction, and the assessments. So, if I say we have an open door policy, trust and collaboration between all important stakeholders, students, teachers, parents, and school leadership team, which in partnerships fosters and builds on the culture of agency. But it stems from one belief, and that belief is every student has the will and ability to positively influence their own life as well as the lives of people around them.
Well, so speaking of trust and collaboration within the school and the parent parties, how do you think trust and collaboration are important factors in cultivating a student agency led environment within not just individual classrooms, but educational institutions as a whole?
Okay, I think in a quest to understand student agency, the conditions which foster student agency, we need to understand that trust, collaboration, and teamwork are extremely critical. Now, what is this trust and collaboration all about, right? And these are big words. But if you look at it as a school, as I mentioned earlier, also, we have an open door policy. And our CEO, Colonel Gopal, always says questions are more important than answers, specifically in the world we are living in, which we don't know what the world you will graduate in, future of work would be, what the future of living conditions would be. So, in that context, how do we build citizens of tomorrow who have the ability to come and ask questions? How do we build the agents of change through which we build that capacity in the students, our teachers? How do we partnership with the community around us, which is parents and the other social institutions? So I think we have an open door policy, as I mentioned earlier. Any student who has a disagreement, any individual who has a disagreement, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their where they are in the institutional organizational chart, they have the freedom to walk into the office and ask questions. And I think the ability and the safe space to have to ask questions to your leaders is a phenomenal way to build the culture of agency. Because when adults experience agency, they create right conditions for students to build agency, right? The other aspect I want to say, just a couple of examples from our own ecosystem. Now, there are a group of parents, particularly high school parents, very anxious, who wants their students to become successful in life. They want the children to go and experience real world, hence internships. So, where do they get internships? We've partnered with our parent body. So we reached out to a parent body, says they're working in Big Four and the top corporates of the world. So they offer internships to our students. So now that stems from a belief that every Shiv Nadar school student, when walks into a Big Four on a corporate world at the age 15 to 18, will have skills, attitudes, dispositions, and discipline of surviving in an environment which is very demanding, right? Likewise, there is a trust in the parents who are sending their children for internships to Big Four and other corporates of the world, saying that I trust because it's being offered by another parent of the community. So, so two aspects to your question, if I can sum it up. One is that we have an open door policy. Anybody can ask any question to anybody. A student of grade 3 can walk into my office, can ask question. A teacher can walk into my office and ask question. An administrator can walk into my office and ask questions and challenge me, disagree with me. And we've also built something we practice very, very regularly, a safe space called Circle Time. You must be doing circle time with your teachers. I do circle time with teachers and students, where we ask their anxieties, where we ask them what they need to, how they're feeling. The second aspect too is collaboration. That means we build up a partnership with our own parent body and other social institutions to provide opportunities to children that can only happen if there is trust and collaboration.
Having remained an intern myself at a marketing company, I'm starting to understand why trust and collaboration are so important, because it wasn't just some company, it was a parent-led company, a parent here at Shiv Nadar School, and that is why my parents were more than willing to send me half an hour away for an internship on my own. I think that's a great initiative.
Let's turn the tables and let me ask you a few questions since we're talking about student agency. How do you believe student agency influence your learning outcomes and experience? And do you think student agency is a passport to long-term success in school and life beyond school?
I think student agency allows learners to first set goals, then further reflect on what they have achieved so far, which then allows them to manage timelines and expectations, and then further do course correction. And I think a great example of this is CAS. CAS allows us to choose our own creative process, an activity, and an act of service. And I think only by having a sense of agency can a student truly pick what they're passionate about, because this is a long term experience. And I think these key characteristics of student agency, autonomy, critical thinking, problem solving, trust, all of these are omnipresent in the IB curriculum, because we have the internal assessments and the extended essay as well. Internal assessments, on one hand, allow students to use their in-class learning and apply it in real-life context. And I think allowing them to do in-depth research provides different perspectives and helps them build a better understanding of what they're learning in the classroom and beyond the classroom as well. Whereas the extended essay allows the student to pick something that excites them, something that they're passionate about, and then do research on it. Because I think it's really important for a student to consider not just one, but multiple viewpoints, and just understand how things are done and how things are applied in real life context. And to sum it up, I think that is the passport to a successful life ahead in both in and beyond a classroom.
Thank you, Anshik. I think that is why I continue. I've been a career advisor as well, and I think International Baccalaureate Diploma Program is a complete package.
Yeah.
It just challenges you out of your comfort zones.
Yeah.
It allows and enables agency by design, where across each subject you are studying, you can choose the problem you want to investigate. Um, and of course, if you have an HL subjects, there are different requirements. If there are SL subjects, there are different requirements. And an extended essay also. I remember one of my students, we went on a field trip to a chocolateur's, factory. And from that came out his own extended essay where he mentioned how the chocolaters should use marketing techniques to expand the business that end up leading the chocolatier to start kiosk at the airport, and it's actually functioning. So that's I think an interesting example you brought out in your conversations about IB curriculum by design, diploma program by design, enabling agency in students' learning journey. Because typically in a curriculum, we generally ask students what to do. So thank you for asking that. Would you have probably 2 to 3 key suggestions for school leaders and teachers how to build agency in classroom and in school as a practice?
Well, I think we already have open communication channels between students and teachers, which allow both the educator and the learner to reflect on what a student's needs are and where they lie on the progress scale. But I think a suggestion from my side would be to involve the students in the lesson making process, as well as when you're constructing the timetable, because perhaps a student's needs may differ from this school's schedule. Perhaps a student needs more math lessons than English, and I think that may help a student further enhance their learning progress. And that, I think that's one of the suggestions which could be applied. Um, I think other than that, we already have students as part of our decision making process. The head girl and the head boy are already part of the discipline committee. We have the AHA program, which allows students to explore different art forms and different sports. And an extension of that are the student led clubs, which help students apply what they've learned or whatever knowledge that they have acquired during these programs into their own clubs and integrate it with their hobbies. And other than that, I think what would be really interesting is if we have a student play a leader and share the same responsibilities as a school leader.
Oh, that's interesting. That brings me to a point. Maybe I might do that next year. So, what I hear from you as advice to the prospective leaders and teachers is that co construct the curriculum
Yes.
planning with the students.
Yes.
Also, have a dynamic and a fluid timetable where students can play active role in designing what they want to learn on one particular day. And I think third thing you also talked about that as a school, it is important to have uh, the culture of agency by designing many interventions and not just standalone, which becomes
Yes.
tokenism. So thank you for these ideas. You have any question for me now?
Sir, could you provide some examples that could help educators foster the culture of agency within their classrooms, and school leaders can institutionalize student agency as a whole?
Uh, Thank you. It's an extremely complex question. So what I will do is I'll try to slice it into 2 parts. I divide the school into 2 parts. Let's do at elementary school, and let's do middle years and senior years as one part. So I think student agency, it's a lot of time when we look at children, we see them, they're really sweet, they're really cute, we find them very cute. But we don't understand that every learner who walks into a school or walks out of the school is basically an individual in his own and her own right. Right? So you have to acknowledge that part, going back to my first belief. Right? So in that context, school needs to build from a very young age opportunities for students to have a voice in shaping their learning experience. I came across a very beautiful example. The activity says like this: for a very young age learners, someday in school I would like to. And at the end of the term, the students can write and complete the statement. whatever they want to write. So that creates a wish list for students. Now imagine when the educators go back and read someday in school, I would like to. There are 300-400 examples what students want to do in the school, and probably we haven't thought about. And then we can see what we can make come alive, what we can make it possible for students. So this gives students a sense of agency from a very young age, that what I desired, what I aspired is being offered by school. And it builds a very strong culture of understanding their own aspirations and shaping their own learning experience. So as young as 6 years old can do that. Now let's come down to the second part. And I think having a reflection routine, what we call it metacognition today, is very, very important. I think at the end of every month or at the end of every term, students can sit down, they can share their learning experiences, they can share their challenges, they can share their aspirations, they can share what they want to achieve in school. And as a school leader, you need to model it. That how do you, as a teacher, you need to model it. What does that reflection mean like? And I think as a matter of practice, when you do this in elementary years, which is grade 3, 4, 5 particularly, you can do it at a good level. I think it enables students to articulate their aspirations and their goals in a structured way, which enables schools to look at possible opportunities we can bring to shape their learning experience. So this is at elementary years, that is early years and primary years. Let's come down to middle years and senior years. One of the first things you must do is conduct student surveys. Our branding team has recently partnered with our academic team, and we created a student survey to check the various dimensions of students' learning experience, right from the environment to the safety to the engagement. So I think that's one of the very powerful ways of having student agency built into shaping the learning experience. I'll give you a very simple example. I remember in 2010, I was a teacher, and in 2011, I stepped out in the corporate world. I started 2 startups. I was working in the US. And post that, I was consulting with one of the world's biggest media house, which is National Geographic Channel. And I came back into teaching with a chip on my shoulder. Like, I know it all. Business is the back of my hand. So I was teaching IGCSE grades. I was teaching A levels, Cambridge A levels, and IBDP. And in the first year, there were a lot of complaints about my teaching methodology by parents to the school. So I had a choice to make. I had a choice to sort of be resentful and say, how can they question me? Or the choice to hear what my children were trying to say. So I devised a very simple technique. I would ask 4 questions to children and would ask them to rate me on the scale of 1 to 5. The questions were on the classroom experience, extended learning experience, which is homework, the assessment experience, or any field trip experience. If they're giving me less than 4 marks, they have to tell me what they did not like in my unit delivery. In addition to that, they have to give me suggestions. Trust me, Anshika, I became far more evolved and a better teacher. My relationship with my students became really, really, strong, because I felt they were acknowledged as individuals who has a voice in shaping their own learning experience with me. So I think student surveys are an extremely powerful and exceptionally underrated tool, which we must use. Teachers can do it at the end of the unit. School leaders can do it at the end of the term. We also do a parent survey also in our schools, so to have a parent agency we talked about. I think the second thing is we must establish student advisory groups. So what does that mean? That brings students from diverse backgrounds within the school community. They could be for middle school, the student advisory group can be 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. And for high school can be 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and so on and so forth. When you bring these students on a platform, you give them a chance to share their learning experiences, their challenges, the changes they want to see in the school ecosystem. What is working for them, what is not working for them. And I think that data can be used by school leaders to rethink their learning and teaching process and the school learning environment. And the last, promote student action and research, or promote student research and action. That means you can use student agency to foster a deeply learning environment in the school by appointing some students to training them in collecting and analyzing data, using this data to solve a real world problem within the school community. It could be something as bullying, it could be massive traffic jams outside the school. And I think if we enable students in designing the learning experience while they're at school, and also making them partner in decision making across the different domains beyond academics. Just think something as simple as traffic management, something as simple as optimizing a school day, or something as simple as could be communication. So they can really surprise you. So I think as a school leader, you need to go back to the first belief I talked about, that every learner has the will and ability to influence their lives and the world around them. And if you build the student agency on this belief, I'm sure the world will be a far more evolved place as a learning institution.
Thank you for your insight, sir. I think to sum it up, student agency is not simply a choice, but to know what to do with that choice and how to use that choice. And I think the dimensions of student agency, autonomy, critical thinking, and problem solving, followed by trust and collaboration, which ties it all up, truly shows how a student can play an integral part in shaping their educational journey. So, thank you, sir, for taking out the time to be a part of this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a wrap on this episode, but stay tuned for more such insightful conversations.